Is 1,000 render good enough for me? Personally, I would say yes, even though that's not financial advice, and even though I can't speak on anyone's behalf. Now, the reason being is because if, let's say, render were to go to the price of $150 during this board, which is my price target for it, if that were to happen, in theory, 1,000 render at that point would be worth $150,000, hypothetically. Now, some people may be thinking, okay, first of all, take a look at the prices of homes. Do you see how expensive they are? And yes, I do. I mean, it's very expensive. But the way to take a look at it is that when it comes to this, many people that I know out there, they're not only just holding render, including me. This is not the only thing I hold. But even besides that, if let's say in a make-believe scenario, someone has a very well-diversified portfolio, and let's say somewhere in that portfolio, there is 1,000 render in there somewhere. And again, let's say if render were to go to the price of $150, then of course at that point, that 1,000 render would hypothetically be worth $150,000. If let's say again I had this portfolio and one of the components of it became $150,000, I don't view it as bad, really, in my opinion. Not to mention, I view that as a very good down payment for a home. Not to mention, when I take a look at something like, $150,000, some people may think, oh, okay, again, it's not that much. Well, I know some people out there who have less than $50,000, and in some cases around $50,000. But even besides that, with that amount, they were able to travel the world for around 2 years. Now, it wasn't like they were living a VIP lifestyle or anything like that, but then they were still able to, meet new people, of course, travel, see the world. And I view that as a very good thing, actually. Now, again, they're not eating at 5-star hotels every day, eating at 5-star, restaurants, these fancy restaurants. They're not doing that, but still, they were able to have a good time and share a lot of good memories. So I don't view this as too bad. Even if, let's say, render were to go to the price of $75, which is half, of course, of $150, even at that point, 1,000 render would hypothetically be worth $75,000. So I don't really view this as bad at all. Now, again, this is subjective because it's going to depend on, of course, each and every person's situation. Some people may think it's a lot, some people may think it's not. But personally, for me, I don't view it as that bad. Now, why is render amazing? It's because if we take a look at render at its core, it's very revolutionary in a sense that render gives individuals the ability to contribute unused GPU power to help projects render motion graphics and visual effects. Now, why is this amazing? It's because the key word is unused. So they're not even using this anyways. Now, again, GPU stands for graphic processing unit, but even besides that point, if I'm able to contribute unused GPU power and actually at the same time, hypothetically, be incentivized, because if we take a look at it, as a result for providing this unused GPU power, these individuals are rewarded by way of render tokens. Again, isn't that kind of a genius concept because it's unused anyways? So this is how amazing it is. The way you take a look at it is like this is as if I had a primary home and then I had a secondary home and I wasn't using it and I'm renting it out. Because I'm not using it anyways, it would actually make sense if I did rent it out, So this is kind of similar in a sense, even though, of course, it's not directly the same. We're talking about GPU here. We're not talking about homes, but I'm just saying this is kind of like the concept that I take a look at this, and that's the analogy that I have for it. Now, not to mention, render, it's been stated, right, that it quite essentially simplifies the process of rendering and streaming 3D environments and other visual effects. Yeah, a bunch of fancy words, but really, if we take a look at render as well, it's focused also on AI. Now, AI, I get it. A lot of the hype kind of did disappear. Now it's beginning to come back a little bit, along with the whole crypto space overall. We'll see, though. But in my opinion, the AI market still has a ways to go, because if we take a look at, according to Granby Research, they predict that the AI market by 2030 is expected to reach nearly $2 trillion. Now, let's just let that sink in. The GDP of Brazil, I do really love Brazil. And if we take a look at the GDP of Brazil back in 2024, it was around $2 trillion. So again, that's very amazing. In my opinion, that's very good. So when I take a look at that if anything, I think truly puts into perspective that, hey, the AI market could really be something special moving forward. However, only time will tell. Now, if we take a look at render as well, it can also have use cases, like for instance, in markets such as augmented reality, mixed reality, gaming, medical, and virtual reality as well. And we all know, how amazing blockchain gaming is, for instance. The market is predicted to reach over $300 billion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. Not to mention, we take a look at also virtual reality, which in this case, if we take a look at it, according to the Insight Partners, the market size is expected to exceed over $400 billion by 2030. That's bigger than some countries' GDP. So when I take a look at Render, a lot of use cases, it's amazing fundamentally, and it has the right concept. And some people may think, okay, mass adoption when it comes to Render isn't going to happen in the next 3 to 6 months. I'm totally aware of that. That's not going to happen. It takes years usually. But it doesn't really matter because people usually, they like the narrative, they like the story, they like what something could be as opposed to what it already is. So I think this could hypothetically still gain a lot of attention during a fully fledged bull run. Now keep in mind, if Render were to go to the price of $150, considering current circulating supply, market cap at that point would be worth around $78 billion. Now that's around a 37x from here, which I don't think is too bad because, for instance, we've seen Dogecoin exceed over $80 billion in market cap, and that was back in 2021. During the peak of that bull run, there was around 300 million crypto owners. Now, according to Crypto.com research, there's over 600 million, which is more than ever before in history, allegedly. And again, imagine if 2021 looked that amazing. Imagine this time around. I think it could look more amazing than that. But again, only time will tell. And usually altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. And the last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year. So 18 months from then would actually mean around October this year. I still believe that even though this historically, again, has been a worst case scenario as to when usually altcoins peak, this is not a guarantee because each cycle is going to be different. I'm totally aware of that. But I still believe in its future. And I still believe that, the bull run is far from over. I mean, when there was over 600 million crypto owners, how could the most recent hypothetical peak be the actual peak? Of course, there's going to be the end to the bull run, but I don't think it's the end just yet. I think better days are ahead. And the amazing thing about Render is that it has a good track record. It showcased that historically speaking, when the market is good, this has been known to go along with the ride. It has that track record. Other projects out there, they don't have that track record. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to do bad, but the way you take a look at it, at least Render has been known to hypothetically do good. It's been known to be able to have a very strong and passionate community. It's been known to gain a lot of attention during a fully fledged bull run. So the way you take a look at it is that during this upcoming hypothetical peak of the bull run, I don't see why it won't gain attention again, and maybe even in a better way. Imagine once Bitcoin goes to the price of $100,000 again, and let's say it goes to 150,000, 200,000, 250,000. Really, I think the sky's the limit when it comes to something like Render, and again, $150 during this bull run wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And make sure to subscribe if you gained value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's only the captain. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.